Hi, I feel like Paul and I actually are dovetailing completely. His last slide, I thought, maybe that's my slide. So I want to talk today about infrastructure is destiny. When in the US we built Levittown in the 1940s and 50s, way out there in fields, we built the highways to get you from there. When we built the houses and the highways way out there, that infrastructure profoundly meant this is what we were going to get. That infrastructure produced this density. And I would also say it produced this density of obese Americans. So the one and the other gives you where we're going in the future. So I feel like we're at this moment where we really need to care about this. So I think about our human nature. That's kind of like our personal infrastructure. What is our human nature? What we know is that we strongly favor things that are easy and cheap, right? We go for that every time. I love this little photo, right from year one. It's built into us. Our taxes and regulations, that's a kind of infrastructure. We all know that we do things based on what's going to be the tax implications. How can we build here, or can we not build here? That's a certain kind of infrastructure that's baked in. And we have spent the last 100 years making cars and car travel easy and convenient, right? We have underpriced and ignored air pollution, free. Congestion, most places, free. Our curb access, so parking and pickup and drop off, incredibly underpriced in every city. And even paying for basic user fees for the roads, the infrastructure. In most countries, the fuel taxes don't even cover it. So we have this incredibly big mismatch between market pricing, signals that we receive, and therefore we overconsume. Which leads me to our next most important piece of infrastructure, our planet. Right? If ever there was an infrastructure that is destiny, it is this particular one. So I'm going to just talk about 3 things that are making me incredibly feel even more urgency. In the last 6 months, we've had the IPCC report for how do we get to 1.5 degrees. And they are telling us, no, the old plan's not even fast enough. We have to do it by 2040. Look at how steep that curve is. That is where we are today, to have to move from a terrible curve to a steep, incredibly cut it all out. In November in the US, there was the 4th National Climate Assessment. I don't want to read it all, but I just want to point out to you that the US government has said that what we've done to date is inadequate to avoid substantial damages. That's in a government publication. Substantial damages is where we're going right now. And this just came out in January, made me feel even worse. That recent science is showing that the oceans are healing up 40% faster than we had imagined. They've been absorbing all the heat for us, and it's 40% faster. The coral reefs are dying off at unprecedented rates. So transport is now the #1 polluter over other energy. We've now been able to, we need to continue to get the energy use and clean up the energy, but transport continues to rise and is rising faster than all the rest. My new inspiration, 16-year-old Greta Thunberg, she had this wonderful thing to say at Davos, and I'm going to paraphrase. I don't want your hope. I want you to panic. And when she says this, she said this so calmly. I want you to panic. I want you to act. I want you to act as if you were in a crisis, as if the house were on fire, because it is. And she said, and I want to say to you, you are the actors in this room, which is why I'm here, is because you are the actors. You are the ones who are changing the whole transport sector. We have to get this job done right. None of us have any choice. You are the actors. We are the actors. So in this transportation space now, I feel like the tectonic plates are completely in motion. It's all in flux. It's all up for grabs. It's stressing existing business models. So if you're the old business companies, you know you're feeling incredible stress. It's stressing existing regulations. It's stressing the existing revenue streams of governments. It's provoking this total reevaluation worldwide about what the status quo is. We have to, it's of this old infrastructure. And this is my first gift that's ever worked. I feel like, yes, this is the moment when we need to have this disruption. If ever there was a moment, it's yay, I'm really glad. We have to change the status quo. So how do we ensure that this revolution is better for people and planet? I love the whole dockless bike piece, and I hope they succeed. But yeah, this is a problem, as are the graveyards of cars. I could have also put a photo up. So this momentum can be used to leveraged to get us to where we want to go, and that's really my life's work right now. We all need to point in the same direction. We all need to row simultaneously. We don't have any time for mistakes right now. It's all got to be together that we're going. So I wrote this with a bunch of NGOs. I just want to say, what are we looking for cities? Sustainable, inclusive, prosperous, and resilient cities depend on transportation that facilitates the safe, efficient, and pollution-free flow of people and goods, while also providing affordable health and integrated mobility for all. I took a moment for that. This is the headline of the shared mobility principles, and this is what I want you guys all to sign up for. I wrote this with these 10 NGOs. It took us many, many months to write up these shared mobility principles. There's 10 of them. I want you to go to sharedmobilityprinciples.org. I'm going to keep flying through this talk. Here you can see the companies that have signed on. There's more than 200 companies and NGOs, large and small, multinational and not, and local. We all need to sign on and say, yes, we agree, that is where we're going. So I'm going to highlight a few of these here today. So let me just go back. So encourage efficient use of spaces and assets, seek fair user fees across all modes, deliver public benefits via open data, promote integration and seamless connectivity. I believe in everything on this list. I'm just going to talk about a few of them. So if I think about what is happening on our streets today, everyone is worried about the future of autonomous vehicles or their scooters, and I feel like, oh my God, it's something we've all experienced. These are all square meters of metal on scarce streets. This is the thing we have to manage. It's not this other unknown thing. We've had 100 years understanding a problem. This is the problem. So shared mobility principle number 3 is to make efficient use of space. How do we allocate this space? This is what Paul was talking about. We have these beautiful designs that you can, tools that you can use to reallocate space, and I'm happy that we're doing it. Here is a real-life example of what happened in San Francisco, as done by a friend of mine. They restriped the street. It used to be 6-lane, Market Street used to be 6 lanes in downtown San Francisco of cars, mixed car use, and he restriped it. So now there's the red public transit lane, which is moving 60 people per lane block. There's the bike lane, moving 40 people per lane block. And yes, we've left 1 lane for mixed traffic of cars, and they're moving 12 people per lane block. So if we want to make efficient use of lanes and move people, not cars, we need to do real street reallocations in cities around the world. The other tool we have for addressing these metal boxes is user fees. This is probably one of my favorite shared mobility principle, fair user fees across all modes. And I'm just going to highlight, this is numbers that were developed by this other source. So it is incredible how people talk about how we're subsidizing transit. Look at the cost of driving. So if I walk, society pays 1 cent. If I bike, society pays 8 cents. If I doing buses, society pays $1.50. But when I drive, the social costs are $9.20. We need to get people out of their cars or to pay the real price. I'm a capitalist. Let's have market pricing. Let's get them to pay the real cost of driving. So Adam Smith said, taxes should be efficient, certain, convenient, and fair. And I want to add that also to space allocation. I am a believer. This is what needs to happen. In San Francisco, this is my favorite example of unfair user fees. This is right now, today, this is the law. It's $110 for illegally parking your car. And if you're a cyclist, we have all experienced this, someone parked in the bike lane. Happens everywhere, $110 fine in San Francisco. They just put on a fee that is $500 for an illegally parked scooter. This is not fair user fees across all modes. But it happens again and again. This is a really egregious one, but just think about, as I said, air pollution, parking. These costs right now are all in favor of personal cars that are not in any way paying their fair user fees. What should the future look like in cities like London and Paris, New York, sort of? We are getting there. We want to experience a multimodal future where when I walk out the front door in the morning, I take the vehicle that matches the trip. So when I'm by myself and light and free, I'm walking, or I'm biking, or I'm taking transit. If I have a broken leg, I'm with my 4 children, I'm with my 93-year-old mother, I'll take a different mode. But every single trip, I can choose the mode that matches, and I'll do it rationally. Key to this multimodal world is we have to have interoperability between modes. And we have to have competition within modes. I know everyone hates competition, but we have to have competition. That's part of the package of capitalism. Therefore, we have to have shared mobility principle number 8. We have to have some open data so we can have these public benefits of interoperability and competition. Another one that I know a lot of you guys are leveraging wireless technologies. We have to work towards integration and seamless connectivity. So every type of vehicle needs to be able to connect at low cost to the internet, and every type of person needs to be able to connect towards the internet. So it's universal access of humans and devices. We've really got to make it happen everywhere. Coming in towards the end, I know that a whole bunch of you guys are thinking in the short term because you are a startup, or we think about capitalism that rewards things on quarterly reports, or if you're in finance, you're looking at what is the interest rate, and it all matters, it all kind of clots up to with the short term. In the long term, interest rates are irrelevant. We are constantly focused on this short term, and I have been there, and I'm understanding that you're thinking, I just have to make my company work, Robin. Stop adding on all these other issues. I've just got to be financially sustainable. But here's the thing. We must necessarily keep this long-term in focus of long-term planetary survivability, long-term viability in cities. We have to go back to my other slides I did in the beginning. We have to get this long-term piece right. We don't have the luxury of saying, I can only deal with the short term. We have to, in everything we do today, think about the long term. So I want you to go sign up for the shared mobility principles and act on them. We have before us this heaven or hell future. I don't want to go here, but I'd say the status quo, just staying with the status quo, delivers us the hell. The status quo will mean that we're going to have, I feel like we're already in the second circle of Dante's hell in cities. If we keep the status quo and add in all the on-time delivery we're doing, the Uber and Lyft, autonomous vehicles, all of this without right pricing and without street space allocation, we are going to have the 7th circle of hell. We really have to address these. So this is 2 photos I love a lot. Coming back to infrastructure as destiny. This is a famous project in Seoul, Korea. The mayor of Seoul said, I want to become president. I'm going to take these, I think it's 12 lanes of traffic that were built in the 60s and 70s over a Chungcheong River that went underneath. And so they built the highways, got the traffic through, and he said, I'm going to rip all this up, and I'm going to reveal that river underneath. And this is what that turned into. So yeah, it's an ugly photo on top because it's the same view as the one on the bottom. And he did go on to become president. And I want to say he did have to do a lot of fights to get that work done. Infrastructure is destiny. We have to get this transition right. And I'm a firm believer that the future is going to be better than the current. So we've got to let go of the current status quo and work like the Dickens about the future that we want to go to. So before I get off this stage, and I did my talk in record time, so I'm going to get to do this with more leisurely. Actually, I'm going to take another minute. I want to ask you guys a question. So I'm going to tee up the question, and then I will ask it. So the question is, this is the question for today, for this conference, for your work ahead in the next year and 2. Do you think that existing companies and existing governments will address climate change and income inequality fast enough? Will they evolve fast enough? Or will they be too slow and the people will rise up and will have a revolt? So my question for you is, do you think the future is one of evolution of the status quo or revolution? And now, before I ask the question, I want everyone to close your eyes. Please close your eyes. Do you think that the future is one of evolution, where businesses and companies evolve to address climate change and inequality? Raise your hands. Evolution, raise your hands. Okay, put down your hands. Now those who think it's going to be too slow and there's going to be revolution, please raise your hands. Keep your hands up. Everyone open your eyes and look around. I typically get about 80-20 towards revolution. And if you think about what revolution actually is, it's 30 years of suffering and economic unrest and terrifying future to load on top of our climate change future. And I know that I live in the US and you live here with Brexit and we have what's going on in Venezuela. We are seeing this happen right now. So I'm urging all of you to become not revolutionaries, because revolution is bad, but revolutionary evolutionists. We all need to speed the pace of change. Our mission for all of us is to speed the pace of change, to speed up evolution, to avoid revolution. And so that's what I'm urging you to do today. I have this new NGO called Numo, NUMO.global, that's doing this kind of work. And I'm wishing you guys a great conference. It was lovely to be here. Thank you.